Hey everyone, I hope you're having a splendid day. I'm Clayfect, and today we're going in on Medusa. She has been portrayed so many times and so differently, so I think it's my turn now to have a crack at it, while I tell you the story about this poor woman. But it is a Clayfect video, so of course we're not just going to make Medusa. No, we're going to take a baby and Medusa and smash them together and hopefully make a baby Medusa. So let's get started. Now, my experience in making humans is one. I have made one human, guys. This will technically be my second humanoid. And I have never made a baby, so that is why I'm starting with the head instead of the body as I usually do. So I get the most difficult and nerve-wracking thing done first. Now you're probably wondering, since this is my second human-ish sculpture, why in the world would I pick Medusa? A fairly difficult one to make. And the reason is quite simple. I'm a woman that's in love with my husband. So when he looked at me and said, I want a baby Medusa, how was I supposed to say no? You haven't seen him, but he has pretty eyes. I couldn't say no to those pretty eyes, no. Speaking of eyes, here you see me putting another set of pretty eyes into the sculpture. I use capuchons that are 6mm curved, and that's important because it gives the effect that she's always looking at you, which I seemed fitting since she can turn you into stone. I focused very much on making her have that big observant look that only babies can give you. It's quite adorable. Speaking of adorable, her mouth might look weird right now, but that's because it's actually not a normal smiling mouth I'm giving her. I'm making her suck on a pacifier later on. So that is why the lips are so protruded. I really wanted this little monster girl to be as cute and sweet as possible. And you're going to understand why when I tell you the story about Medusa. But before I get started on the story, guys, a quick disclaimer. You see, I'm not an expert on Greek mythology. I'm just a girl with Google. So bear with me because there are so many different variants of this story, but I'm going to try to tell you what I think happened. Now, the story of Medusa is quite a tragic one. You see, she was born a Gorgon, a creature that has golden wings, sharp teeth, and snake hair. Her parents were the primordial sea gods, Thor and Cetos. I'm not sure if I said the first one correctly. And together they had 3 daughters. Medusa, Steno, and Euryale, I think it's called. But out of those 3, Medusa was the only one that was born mortal and was quite beautiful, in fact. From what I can gather, she actually just looked like a really, really beautiful human woman. But as many other beautiful women might know, that attracts a lot of attention from men. Dude upon dude tried to get lucky with Medusa, but she wouldn't have any of them. No, instead she became a priestess from the virtual goddess Athena. Meaning that Medusa now had to stay pure and away from the grown-up wiggle dance with any of the boys. And Medusa was fine with this. And I think it's here the story should have ended. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Because one day when she walked along the beach, Poseidon spotted her. And he wanted her so badly. But again, just like with all the other boys, she rejected him. But Poseidon couldn't take no for an answer. So he tried again. And again Medusa rejected him. And ran into Athena's temple in hope of protection. But there was no protection to be had there. Now some say it's because Athena was jealous of Medusa. Others said that Athena saw it and simply just misunderstood what happened and thought that Medusa was doing it willingly. Whatever the case, what happened was that Poseidon forced himself on poor Medusa. Furious with both of them, but not able to do anything since Poseidon was a higher ranking god, Athena took all her anger out on Medusa and made her look like a gorgon just like her sisters. And made it so if anyone looked at Medusa's face, they would turn into stone. In another story later on, Medusa gets murdered by a hero because he wants to use her head on his shield so he can turn people into stones. But let's stop the story here, shall we? Because I don't like the story, it's incredibly unfair to poor Medusa. Plus, it sort of ruined the concept with her being born human-like when I make a snake baby. So, you know what? Let's change it up. Let's make our own story. Medusa was born a snake monster, have always been a snake monster, even though she was the prettiest of her sisters. Many men tried their luck with her, but she rejected them and was good friends with Athena. Yeah, that's how it is. And if they didn't take no for an answer, she turned them into stone. Only then. And that's the story of Medusa. Now, back to the sculpture. Now for the body, I didn't use that much time on shaping it because I knew that I wanted her to wear a toga that was too large to emphasize the babiness of her. And that is why you see me making a rim all around, because I want some sort of belt or a rope to bind it all together. And here you see me putting the head on, and I am just so happy with the head. I think she's just so darn cute. Especially if you think of that is my second humanoid face. I think she turns out great. And now for the arms. Now, Mr. Clayfect specifically asked that she needed to tuck in one of the snakes. That's why I made a snake a little bit more like it's getting choked, to make it a little more fun and whimsical. So that's the first arm I start with because it is the most difficult one of them. There is a lot of shaping and fitting in when it comes to the hand and the arm, because I want to keep the proportion correctly. So I needed to know how to bend the arm. You have no idea how many times I looked myself in the mirror while I tucked in some of my hair to see how the arm was going to bend. And those small chubby baby hands, guys. Oh my god, I will not say they are more difficult than hands with long fingers. I think it's basically the same, but they were so small, and possessing them without smushing the hands was very, very difficult. But I managed at the end, and I am so happy how they look. The legs were definitely easier because it's just easier to make feet, in my opinion, and the thighs are getting covered by the big toga, so I didn't have to worry that much about them. Now, while I'm making the legs, this might be a good time to ask you guys to like, comment, and or subscribe if you haven't done so already. It would really mean a lot to me because it does so much good for the channel, and I love doing this with you guys. I'm so grateful for you who come back every single week and spend some time with me. So really, thank you for all your support and all your lovely comments. Now, on to the toga. I took a strip of cosplay that was on a very thin setting, and then I started folding it around the baby. And I have to admit, I had so much fun with this. I don't know why, but folds are fun. I might have gone a little bit overboard with the folds you're going to see later on. But you know what? You be the judge of that. I love this sculpture. After I had made the toga trim, it was fairly easy to see how the other folds in the toga should go, because you could sort of imagine how the fabric would flow in that case. But if you like my folds on this sculpture, I actually have some advice for you. Don't panic when you put the first 1 or 2 folds on the fabric you are making out of clay. No. Make a bit of a portion before you judge if it's good or if it's not. Because of 2 reasons. First, when you have made a couple of folds, it's much easier to see when it's worn. And second, it would always look horrible at the start. It really needs to come together before you can judge it. Now with the dress almost done, all I had to do was plop it up on a higher surface so I got a better view before I made a twirly thing that's going to be a rope. And that is where that indent I made right at the start comes into play. I pressed the rope into that indent so it gave the effect that the toga was really too large for the little girl. And after that, I just brushed her with some clay softener and gave her arms and legs a little bit of texture before I put her into the oven. And I have to admit, I think she looks just so darn cute. Oh my god, I'm happy with her at this point. But this was also before the painting nightmare. And oh yeah, there was a painting nightmare. Now, you saw how I made those snakes, right? You can see the hair. If you know anything about painting, then you know I set myself up for a lot of work. Especially because I used the color green and it is just so transparent compared to blue, brown and red. It just took so much time. What you're seeing right now is just the base coats. Where I went in for light green for the skin, a darker green for the hair, and a soft blue for the toga. And the nightmare doesn't end there. After that, I went in with a shiny metallic green for the snakes to make them pop more and look more snake-like. I kept going back and forth, painting different parts of the sculpture in hope that it would make it look better. But no matter what I do, I just wasn't satisfied with it. The only thing I actually liked about the sculpture at this point was the snake's color. The toga, the belt, the skin, none of it looked good in my opinion. I was just so frustrated at this point. So I decided to go back to the snakes, which were the only part I liked, and started painting the eyes black. Before I gave every little eye a little white dot, just to make them pop some more. And I will stop complaining here, guys. But you can guess how long it took. After the hair was done, I tried with another green color, where I quickly realized that I was about to make Baby Hulk, not Baby Medusa. And it sort of looked grimy. I didn't like that color neither. And so I tried to paint her again. Now in a more yellowish green that was a little bit warmer, and I was just so much happier with that result. I just think it looks so much better. And if you can see the difference between this and the first one, then just look at the palette to the right. Then you can see the old and the new paint that I'm using. After I had warmed her colors a bit up, then I start painting the tongues on some of the snakes. And I have to say, even though they're quite simply made, I really like them. Just like I'm so much happier with the new toga color. I painted it a soft purple to match her skin better. Before I went in and painted her pacifier a darker, more bluish purple to make it pop, so to speak. Now, for those who have followed me for a while knows that the painting process is definitely not my favorite. But it pays off. Here you see me painting some freckles, and I know babies don't have freckles. But since this is a monster baby, I think I can get away with it. After that, I give some shades to the dress with a wash before I dry brush it in a lighter color, all to give it some dimension. And with the majority of the figure done, all I had to do was painting her belt and the small thingies on her shoulders in gold before I gave her a mani-pedi with a lighter yellowish green. And with that, we were finally done with that paint job. Oh my god. I will not complain, but oh my god. All I had to do now was just to clean her up a bit. And that is it for this sculpture, but not it for this video yet. Stay tuned at the end of the video, where I show you some art from one of my subscribers. Though right now, you are seeing some glamour shots of Medusa, and I just have to say I am so happy with her. I hope you like her too. The two last pictures in this montage is of two fairy houses made by Nicola. I think her cobblestone technique is amazing. I feel it as a privilege that she wants to show me her beautiful work. And if you feel like you want to show me some of your beautiful work, then send it to my Facebook site. After you've clicked on the square to the right, of course, where you can see Cerberus get made. Until then, bye!